Good evening and welcome to the October 2nd, 2019 legislative session of the Penfield Town Board. I'll officially call this meeting to order. I'll ask everyone to please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler. Here. Moore and Quinn are absent today.
Okay, thank you very much. The first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for the 2020 preliminary budget and the 2020 special districts budget. And I'll ask our clerk to please read that legal.
The Town of Penfield 2020 preliminary budget and 2020 special districts budget. The legal notice was published in the Penfield Post on September 19th, 2019, posted on a town website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide action.
Great, thank you. And I'll ask our town attorney, Mr. Horowitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
Okay. If the audience could bear with me for a moment. Normally, our finance director, Barbara Churtle, would be making this presentation tonight. Barbara had a family emergency, and so our thoughts and prayers are with Barbara and her family. So you're going to get the next best for the budget presentation, and we'll get started if we may. Get our little, and maybe we won't be started.
Switches on the left side of the remote.
I'm sorry?
Switches on the left side of the remote.
It's already on, David. So how come you never have this problem with Barbara, but with me only? It's a challenge, right?
No comment.
No comment. I hear fast feet approaching from the basement to make sure that we are.
Dress rehearsal always goes well.
All right, thank you, David. You are the best. All right, let us get started. First off, just a summary before we get started. Your property tax dollar is broken up into three components. The town taxes being the smallest for what are all the day-to-day activities that you see. So that is maintaining our roads, maintaining and snow plowing. That is for public safety. That's our library. That's all the equipment that we purchase, stormwater and sanitary sewer, and all of that is rolled into that 8% or 8 cents of each of your tax dollars. To give you an idea that the average monthly bill that we have for cable and TV, internet, is more than typically what most pay for their town taxes on a monthly basis. As we move into the preliminary budget, and again on September 18th, Barbara and I presented the tentative budget, or I should say we released it. Barbara made the presentation. The tentative budget became the preliminary budget. I will say that this budget and this presentation is now online. Compliments of our friends downstairs, PCTV, and the website. The total budget for 2020 is $20.6 million. That's an increase of $411,000. The tax levy increase is $60,000. And again, the town is below the tax cap, and that's the New York State tax cap that we're all held to. This slide represents our fiscal stress score, and Penfield is very fortunate that we have one of the lowest across the state. So if you take a look at the town of Penfield in this particular slide, 1.7. All towns average about 5.4. Within the Finger Lakes, 4.5, and then of the large upstate towns, 6.3. So the score well below, and that's consistent for the last 3 years that the state has been following this. So where have we been? And I think it's important to just highlight a couple of items that have taken place in 2019. So this is our DPW complex right here. This was the original building that was built back in the early 1950s. That particular building was in fact raised, and we had a new cold storage building that was erected on the site. That was as a result of a grant from Senator Richard Funke. As we took a look at our amphitheater, and I'll talk about that a little bit as we go along as it relates to attendance, but this year we actually ran power to that facility that was run by a generator and not as efficient as we'd like. And then if we had an emergency, we'd pull that generator out to service pump stations and anything that needed powering during any type of an emergency. So our facilities team put together a plan. We've got power to that facility. Additionally, what we did is that this building for the last, since it was built, and for 54 years was on a septic system, and we were spending money each year. With the sewers available on Jackson Road, we were able to tie this building into the sanitary sewers. That was a big step, and certainly will help for many years to come. We've done a tremendous amount of drainage work, and one of the things that I wanted to see happen when I came into office was to up the whole drainage activity. So we have a number of major streams and creeks that crisscross the town. We have a number of backyard drainage, and this is an example of a couple of areas that we've worked this year. You can see that we go into areas where there is some erosion. We'll put in gabion walls to help stabilize and prevent sedimentation getting into the creeks. And then we try to open it up so that then we can get in and mow and continue to maintain. One of the things that we found, and I'll use the commission ditch as a good example in years past, what had happened is that it was so long since it got actually dug out. Everything was growing up, and took us quite a while to get that cleaned out. And then we wanted to just make sure that on a regular basis, at least once a year, to get in and mow that and minimize some of that those problems that we've had in the past. We installed a new playground at Greenwood Park and for our youngest residents, and we've been trying to upgrade our playgrounds across the town. This year we actually in the process of completing the one at Upper Harris Whalen, and we'll be looking at Philbrook Park as we move into the future. We did quite a bit of paving, not only for the town this year, but for the county as well. And the benefit of doing the work for the county is that we get revenue in doing that, and that's part of our revenue stream. And that allows us to help offset some of our budget, gives us more money that we can put into reserve funds for equipment. Here we were over on Waterbury. This was the last project that we did this year. We additionally did Harris Road and Plank Road for county projects in 2019. We purchased a number of new pieces of equipment. We replaced one of our outdated sweepers. You'll see that on the left. And this is one of our 2 new plow trucks. We have 19 routes now across the town. We have 21 of these large pieces of equipment that we use to maintain not only the roads in the summer, but and in the winter, plowing and salting. And as we take a look, it was time no pun intended, but it was time to actually upgrade the clock. This is a fixture in the four corners. It was approximately 18 years old, and we wanted to go through and make sure that we could preserve that for another 20-plus years. So that work was completed here last month on that clock. So where are we going? Let's talk a little bit about what's next. So this is a distribution of our budget dollar. You can see that the largest piece is payroll and benefits for our employees. We have debt service of 9.2%. We have contractual expenditures at 23.3%. And then equipment and capital outlay for 11%. And that's how the budget dollar for 2020 is broken up. We've had a discussion about this in the past, residents wanting to know what is our benefited employee headcount. And you can see that it has been relatively stable across the last 5 years. We have increased in 2019. We added one person in facilities, one person in the sewer department as we continue to grow our business and we maintain more infrastructure. We have added to that overall. And you can see that the part-time has remained, and that's that's 1615, relatively flat across the board over those last 5 years. As we take a look at our capital outlay for 2020, we have approximately $2.3 million that we're going to be looking to spend as part of this budget. A piece of that, a good piece of that, about $1+ million is going to be for some heavy-duty equipment and light-duty equipment in DPW. We've got a playground that we're proposing at Philbrick Park. We've got some facilities improvements, some computer components, and as you can imagine, as the town grows, technology continues to be our friend as we make sure that we give the tools to our employees to do the best job we can. We've got $140,000 in the sidewalk program for 2020. That's specifically located at Huntington Meadows. There was a presentation to the board about a year and a half ago. The board said that in 2019 they would go through and design the project. They would do the engineering. They would get any of the easements, and then would build that in 2020. Our Department of Public Works, they account for approximately 38% of our budget. We maintain 287 lane miles that we take care of and are responsible for, primarily for salting and snow plowing. We do work for the county, as I mentioned, for paving. The state does their own work. An example of that is Empire Boulevard that's being totally reconstructed this year and will be wrapped up this fall. We have approximately 359 miles of storm and sanitary sewer that we're responsible for inspecting, checking, making sure everything is working properly, nothing is backed up. And we have 10 parks and associated acreage across the town that we take care of, maintain. Some we mow on a weekly basis, some we mow bi-monthly, and some we mow just a couple of times during the course of the year. Our library and our librarian, Bernadette Brinkman, is here with us, and I always thank Bunny for being here. The Penfield Library is, I believe, the best library within the system, and that's through a lot of hard work and efforts by Bunny and her team. They account for approximately 9% of the overall budget. If you take a look at the numbers, and I recognize that the circulation numbers of 2018, as well as people in, However, I will say that they're on pace to break those records, and it's amazing the number of people that come into our library on a regular basis to take advantage of all the services. A lot of times folks think about the library. I come in, I check out books, but as time has gone on, Bunny and her team have added a tremendous number of programs for residents young to old, and it gets a lot of action, and it's great to see the activity in our library. Our recreation department, almost $1 million. Percentage of the budget is approximately 5%. This past year, our amphitheater saw more than 5,700 people attend, and it was very exciting to see. We brought in a number of new programs. We changed our format to run from June to September. And I will tell you, this year, I think we had 16 major events there. All of them went off without any rain, which in Rochester is absolutely amazing, and just a wonderful, wonderful event. I'll give a side note. We've had a couple of different organizations use these grounds and the amphitheater. One was last Friday, and it was a wonderful program. Two families came together, and it was a fundraiser for Golisano Children's Hospital, and I had an opportunity to go to that event with Mr. Horowitz and his family, and I will tell you, it was amazing, breathtaking, and very sobering to read some of the stories of some of our youngest residents and their battles. And when we think sometimes when we have problems, seeing some of these individuals that have had 40 or more surgeries, had 200 or more chemo treatments, it was just a wonderful event, and I can't describe, words just can't describe it. So this is a 10-year taxable valuation, and you can see currently the town is at $3.2 billion of taxable valuation, and you can see how we've grown over the years since 2011. So this is a summary of our preliminary general government budget for 2020. I get the numbers, I apologize, I get the numbers are a bit small, and I'll just highlight the fact general, about $10 million, our highway, about 5.5, library, about $1.9 million overall. So the amount to be raised by taxes, $8.9 million. And I'm happy to report that the anticipated tax rate for the fiscal year 2020 will remain at $2.78. So if you take a look at the average tax bill, and we use a $190,000 home, that average tax bill will be $528.20. And if you think about, again, the roads, the sewers, the drainage, the public safety aspect of things, the recreation programs, our library, and much more, I think local town government provides a wonderful service to their residents. Penfield remains one of the lowest, so this chart shows a low to high. Penfield is at 6, really at 5, because Mendon and Parma are tied at $2.67. Riga has no tax rate, and that's because of the landfill. All their tipping fees, all the money they get, covers everything, all the operations for the town, and then some. Again, Penfield has had and continues to maintain one of the lowest tax rates within Monroe County. So just to give a broader summary here, again, on the left we have the 2020 preliminary budget. And then what Penfield has historically done, which has helped us as we've gone out for bonds, we've gone to the bond market when we deal with Moody's, we project out an estimated budget for the next 3 years, 21, 22, 23. And we make some assumptions, again, based on what we might be getting in from, a debt service, what our revenues are going to be. Revenues are the hardest to project if you think about it, because you just never know exactly what you're going to get. We don't know how much work we're going to get from the county. We always assume that our sales tax goes up year on year. We try to be conservative with that, and we use a lot of historic data that says that we can figure in a little bit more for our revenues with sales tax and things like that, and our mortgage tax. That's the other big item, and with a lot of home sales and a lot of activity within the town, our mortgage tax rate has been very positive as well. But again, we make sure that we project this out. That gives us a good idea of how we're tracking for the future years. So our total revenues for 2020 were $8.2 million. That's an increase of about 264 that we're proposing from 2019. So again, as we take a look at our historic data and trying to make sure that we're being reasonable and conservative, we believe that there will be a modest increase from 2019. So we have a number of special districts. As we take a look at our special districts overall, this is our sanitary sewer operations and our debt service. Those have gone down from last year. There is a decrease of that, and for this year, it will be approximately $3.26 less than 2019 for the sewer districts. The next important district is our drainage district, and so we have upped that a little bit for 2020. Again, the idea is to make sure that we are going through and taking care of drainage across the town. So it'll go up 2 cents to the rate overall. We have seen some savings in our lighting rate in our intensified lighting districts. The main piece of that is our solar array that has helped reduce the cost of that, as well as cost to our facilities at DPW Town Hall and the community center. We have 2 ambulance districts. First is the Penfield ambulance district, and the increase for the Penfield Volunteer Ambulance is an increase of about 2 cents per thousand for the district. And so this will increase. Again, the average homeowner in the Penfield will be $4.303 per dollars. And in the northeast quadrant, which is really the northern part of Penfield, it is $3.93. Again, that rate is up slightly. We have 3 fire districts in Penfield. This is new, hot off the press information that we just recently received here at the end of last week. We got it since we presented the tentative budget to the town board, so this is the first opportunity to see this. This is an area that we do not have any control over. They have their own board of directors. They share the information with us. It shows up on your tax bill, whether those tax dollars go up or down. That's based on the board of directors for those respective districts. So a summary of our preliminary operating budget, our appropriations of $20.6 million. projected revenue of $8.2 million. We have a reserve fund balance and fund balance that we're using as part of this budget. Reserve fund will be for equipment and DPW, and then the fund balance will be a piece that we'll use to balance the budget for 2020. Tax levy will be $11.7 million, or $1 billion, excuse me. So that's the presentation. Kind of next steps is that between tonight and the 10th, the board will review any and all comments as we look to develop the final budget, and the proposed final budget is looked to be brought to the town board at our next legislative session, which will be on the 16th. All of the information, as I indicated, is on the website, not only the information on the budget, but also the presentation of tentative and preliminary. And then ultimately, once the budget is adopted, the final budget will be on that as well. So at this time, what I'll like to do is I'll go back to my seat, and we'll open it up for any comments that anyone would like to make. And then we have some written comments that we received that we'll add to the record as well. Okay, because this is a public hearing, there's an opportunity for the audience to address the board on this matter. They can do that one of three ways. Certainly here, if you're in the auditorium, you can call in at 340-8771. You can log on at penfield.org. And I'll ask our clerk, did anyone sign up to speak at this public hearing?
I have someone who is going to talk at a next public participation.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on this budget? Yes, Julie? Please, come forward.
Good evening. Julie Mitchell. I'm at 27 White Spire Lane.
Welcome.
Excuse me?
I said welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you very much for the thorough layout. I appreciate all of the time that it took to put all of this together for us. I do just have a few questions. Some of my questions I wrote out after taking a look at what was online, and you have answered part of some of them, so I appreciate that. My first, actually a comment, because you did, it was one of my questions, but you answered it, talking about the tax levy versus simply the tax rate. I think that's really important that residents like myself, that we understand that.
Yes.
Because that is such a difference. And just because a tax rate might remain flat doesn't mean that taxes stay static because of the levy.
That is correct.
Okay, so I really
Yep.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So my first question then, after that comment, you talked a little bit about the sales tax. It looks as if it's a $300,000 projected increase. So can you just clarify a little bit more about, you said you take a look at history, but what else is used to put together that projection? Because is that really realistic, that amount, that dollar amount?
If we take a look at the last 10-year history on
10
the sales
years.
tax,
Okay.
you will see that every year, it has gone up. It has been very consistent to do that. Now, if you have large events within the community, so I'll use the PGA as an example. When you have large events like that and you have a number of people coming into town, obviously there's more money spent on food and entertainment and different activities like that. So we take a look at that as well, what is planned. And again, the county has seen year on year pretty consistent an increase in sales tax. We get a quarterly report that comes out of the county, and based on that information, we, again, we're conservative, but we're also try to be realistic to make sure that we're truly representing to as close as we can without overestimating or significantly underestimating. If I came into you and said we're planning on getting about 2 million and we get 3.5 million, you're going to say, can't you get any closer than that? And if I'm estimating 3.5 and we're getting 2, why are we fluffing the numbers that much? So it's a lot of work that myself and the budget director go through, and we work very closely with the county because that's where that comes to us from.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Yep,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. Also, I noticed there is, you mentioned adding employees. The assessor's office is adding a full-time staff member. So are reassessments in the works then?
So we're looking to do a reassessment in 2020. So that'll be part of that. They were down actually 2 bodies, and we brought one in here about 2 or 3 months ago, and then a second one that will be brought in here sometime in the fourth quarter.
Okay, thank you. You did answer, I also had a question about the sidewalks. So the focus there for the sidewalks, since it's 140,000, so Huntington Meadows exclusively?
That is correct.
Okay.
For 2020.
For 2020?
Typically, this board budgets money for sidewalks during the course of each year. There are 2 components to the sidewalks, one for new sidewalks, the other one for maintenance of existing sidewalks, because every year we have some number of flags or squares that, that we have to pull out and maintain. So there are 2 components that make up the 140 is for brand-new sidewalks.
Brand new sidewalks, okay. And just 2 more questions.
Sure thing.
One about employee costs. So I noticed in the budget they're kind of separated out according to departments, or as you mentioned, separate districts. So my question is almost similar to the sales tax in terms of the thinking and the processing that goes on. How do you handle the rising increases for employees, year after year with insurance and so on? Since it's not all reported in one area, it's spread out via departments. Does that come from appropriated reserves or surplus?
No, we budget each year for, the insurances, healthcare, workers' compensation insurance, all of that we budget on an annual basis. This board historically has gone out and bid our insurances on a regular basis. Typically every 3 years we'll go out to do that to make sure everybody's pencil is still sharp. We're getting the best bang for the buck. I will tell you that as part of our healthcare consortium, and our healthcare consortium is made up of 16 members, so it's made up of towns, villages, cities, and housing authority, and the Monroe County Water Authority. That makes up our 16. The reason that we've done that is that we've got the ability to leverage with a larger group of people. So our healthcare consortium now amounts to approximately 5,000 belly buttons. That's 5,000 between employees, families, dependents, and that gives us the ability to work with both MVP and Excelis to make sure we're leveraging the best price overall. I'm happy to report that, which is something that is totally unheard of, but our medical cost for 2020 will be down 4%. That will be down 4%. And if it wasn't for the federal hit tax, it would be 6.5%. The reason we're able to do that is that again, the buying power of our consortium, the fact that we've had And there's an element of luck that we haven't had any major illnesses, injuries, and things like that. But banding together, we've been able to leverage that. So those costs for benefits will be, passed, not only down to the town, but to our employees as well.
Excellent. As a public employee myself, I also am a member of a consortium, so that's great.
So
Appreciate that.
I'll probably, I'm willing to bet you that your consortium won't come in with a minus number this year.
I do not know yet, so okay.
So I will, but we've worked hard, we've worked that hard for the last few years, and I would say there's not going to be many organizations or groups that will come in a minus number.
A minus. Thank you. And finally, if I may, the surplus amount, the appropriated reserve of the fund balance, we do, as you mentioned, have a healthy amount of reserves.
We do.
Which is very good. Some of the surplus amounts are reported in the budget. However, I'm wondering if there's a total number of reserves and how much we're using for the, if there's a total number of how much we're using of those reserves.
There is. We do have that. I don't have that right off the top of my head. I can certainly get that. We're going to be posting based on questions that have come in that are not answered. We will include that on the website. That should be up and running as early as Friday of this week or Monday next week by the latest. And we will make sure that that information is in there as well.
Great, that would be helpful.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank
Sure
you for
thing.
your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter related to the budget? Mindy?
Hi, Mindy McLaren. I'm at 1724 5 Mile Line Road. I was going to ask about the decrease in the RG&E spending and wanted to know if it was related to the solar array. So thank you for answering that before I could ask it. I do have a question about the related to the cable TV account. It says in the data that there's a decrease for web maintenance and technical at roughly $16,000. Can you tell me why that is?
Sure. If you recall, and you've been following things in the town, we embarked on putting together a new website, and the bulk of that cost will be incurred in 2019. We're hopeful to have that rolled out by early 2020, and then there will be some cost to get that wrapped up. But a bulk of the cost and the bulk of the expenditures were done in 2019.
Okay. Thank you. And then under the serial bonds, it said the projected spending on the Shadow Pines bond decreased by $20,000 for 2020. Why is that?
So what happens is, as you can imagine, you go out and you bond for a period of time, and so as time goes on, you're paying less interest, more on the principal, and so it's just a matter as we go through, is that will reduce itself between now and the end of the bond term.
Okay. And lastly, pesticides are a pet issue of mine. I'm curious to know how much we are spending for pesticides to be sprayed on our town properties.
I don't, right off the top of my head, Mindy, I don't have that, but I will, again, that'll be one of the questions that we'll add so that it's available on the website.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on the budget? Okay, seeing none, I'd ask the board any questions before I close this hearing, board? Okay, before I do that, I'm going to ask the clerk, we did receive a correspondence from Tim Murphy, and he had a list of approximately 18 questions. I'm going to ask the clerk to please enter those questions into the record. And we will, again, post these questions. I would say probably three-quarters of these questions that he's asking probably have been answered as part of the budget presentation, but we'll post them verbatim, and we'll place the answers opposite those questions as well. And I'll just ask the clerk if she would go down through and enter into the record those 18 questions, please.
Number one, the data was not posted on the town's website as requested. It was emailed just to me. Why? 2, where are the year-to-year comparisons? Previous year actual, current year budget, current year to date, and 2020 pro. I think something was cut off there.
Proposed?
Proposed. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
3, I assume current year original means 2019 adopted budget amount, and is the single point of comparison correct? 4, staff annual salary increases appears to variable by department. What is the anticipated annual increase percent across the board? I'm sorry, this is also cut off.
Yep.
Do you have one that is not?
Yep, and I'll give that to you if you want to.
I apologize.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay. So that one was staff annual salary increases appears to be variable by department. What is the anticipated annual increase percent across all departments? Who decides this? Number 5, where is the fire district budget input? Is it late again? 6, are the hospital medical insurance, detail, Social Security, retirement, workman's comp totaled in one place? Why some increases and some decreases? What are the total costs and projected increase or decrease? 7, account A001000-1120-0000, sales tax distribution is projected to increase $300K. Is that realistic, and why? Number 8, account DA 0-1001-1001-0000, real property taxes is projected to increase $160K. Is that realistic? Number 9, it appears that some retiring bond debt and reduced annual costs are helping with managing the 2020 budget. Please elaborate. Number 10, account A00-1355-001-1011. Why is the assessor's office adding a full-time staff member, and is there an upcoming reassessment? If so, starting when? Number 11, accounts A00-1620-0004-4061 and A00-1620-0004-4161. What is the $58K reduction of RGE annual costs attributable to new solar array? If so, it is worth highlighting. Number 12, account A00-1620-0004-4661. Why 30K decrease in facilities account for Shadow Pine / Clark House? 13, account A00-9710-0006-6005. Why 20K reduction in land acquisition Shadow Pines bond? And he wrote 100K to 80K. 14, fund S10 sewer fund. Why are sewer fund revenues going up by 87K and surplus fund being used? 15, account SL 0-1000-1001-0000. Why are townwide townwide lighting district revenues going down 35K? 16, account A00-540-0003-3015. Why is there 140K for new sidewalk installation? Where will that be spent? Widen some selected routes per bicycle master plan? 17, how much total money from previous years' reserve surplus fund balance is being used to help augment the 2020 budget? And lastly, number 18, what are the major capital projects anticipated in 2020 that this budget supports?
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, seeing no further comments regarding the preliminary budget, I'll declare this hearing closed. Again, the board will take the next 7 or 8 days, take a look at any and all questions that have come in, not only this evening, but any others that might come in between now and next Friday. All of those questions will be put up as well as answers. And then this board will look to adopt this budget on the 16th of October, consistent with what our practice historically has been to make sure that the budget is adopted prior to Election Day. All right, we'll move on with our agenda. The next item on the agenda is communications and announcements. And again, 3 ways in which to address the board if you're here in the audience. If you log in at penfield.org, you can call in at 340-8771, and I'll ask the clerk, has anyone signed up to speak this evening?
Are we going to do communications and announcements first?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Sorry.
That's
I was
okay.
thinking
You morphed
communications
them
and
together.
announcements, but because we've got some folks signed up and because they've been patiently waiting, I will allow them to speak. So let's do public participation, and then we'll come back to communications and announcements.
Okay.
Thank you for keeping me honest.
Okay, so we have Richard Hammond.
Mr. Hammond. Welcome.
Thank you. Richard Hammond, living at 1410 and 1404 for a very long time. I'm here today.
I'm going to get these papers right out of your way for you, Dick.
Okay.
And
Hey, don't let them get mixed up with mine.
Not clutter
We
up.
don't want to crossbreed here.
There you go, sir. There you go, and I'll put this right down here, Dick. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry to...
I should have done that before.
Okay, so I'd like to thank everyone here. I'd like to say hi to Mr. Horowitz, our town attorney, all our town board members, Amy, and of course the town supervisor, who I have the pleasure of meeting on Saturday mornings at the Rochester Public Market. Sometimes he leaves feeling well, and other times he's not feeling so good with me. But anyway.
It's all good, Dick.
Yeah, well, we try. So I'm here this evening in regards to damage permits in the areas where it's designated for discharging guns. There's a little bit of a question in regards to some of the laws here that's in the title form here. I would like to ask if it would be possible that we could sit down at a work session meeting. There are other members that are not here this evening that have a great deal of input and have experienced quite a bit of damage. Now, we know that there's a possibility of 74 houses to be built between Jackson Road, Northrop Road, and Plank Road. And these 74 houses in that area have housed deer for a very, very long time. And it's easily seen 25 to 35 deer in a hayfield just east of that property. So we are concerned that the designated area may change due to that. I did speak with DEC representative. Amy, could you, what was his name again?
Mike Wasilko.
Michael Sokol? Yeah, well, I got these store-bought teeth, and they don't always come out just right. They're like the stars, they come out at night. So anyway, thank you for that. So what we're saying is we'd like to sit down and talk to you about this issues and some others in regards to that. And just to give you just a little thought. Okay. Now there's a deer just north of my daughter's home, and that's a field of rye there. She's been dining on that and headed for my beet field. Well, fortunately, a couple dogs barked, and she left, fortunate for me and her. But that's the problem. You're not able to discharge a gun within 500 foot of a residence. Those will be one of the questions that we'll ask to clarify in this title here. Now, there is other townships that are having issues, according to Mike, in regards to redistricting areas that are available for discharging of guns. So this, I would ask that if you could contact him, he could fill you in on what some of the problems that they may be seeing, and then avoid or help us with our quest for fairness to all, not the home builders, but the person that's tried to be in this town for a long time and growing some things, you know? So does that sound reasonable to you?
It does sound reasonable.
Okay, thank you. Well, Paula, I'm sorry to hear about chance of you leaving the board here, because you've been such a valuable person on this board and, of course, on the Drainage Committee. And when we were having some difficulties in there, you were able to clarify some legal things for us and then offer your own thoughts on it, and helped us tremendously. And we've always been very appreciative of that. So hope for good luck with your judgmentship. Okay.
I thought I'd learned so much about drainage.
Yeah, well, the supervisor mentioned it. I didn't want to get tied into the drainage tonight, but I just don't want, I want to just deal with this here tonight, and then another time we'll deal with the drainage. And it kind of, well, it'll be better if I talk about it some other time.
Yeah, I'll make sure, Dick, we'll chat about drainage before the next Watershed Management Committee meeting, and then I'll make sure I can report to them our conversation.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dick,
maybe I'll-
don't forget your photo, unless you want us to keep it for the work session. Then we can get it back to you, or we can scan it in, whatever is easiest for you.
Well, I think you're going to see some pictures from Northrop Road residents as to damage on trees, landscaping trees, and Mr. Smith is willing to come to this meeting. I spoke to him earlier, and he was told that this issue was tabled. Yeah, it is. It's true. It is a table, but the time to hit this deal is before it becomes too far along that we can't deal with it adequately and fairly. So that's why I'm here, and I realize that it's table. Amy spoke to me about it when I spoke to her earlier this week, and but that doesn't mean that we can't interject some thoughts and help make the wheel, not to change it later on, because it's a lot easier to make it than it is to change it.
Yep. Okay.
And thank you.
Thanks, Dick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dick, do you want your picture that you hung up?
No, I'm going to leave it here, if you don't mind.
I'll put it, we'll make sure it's in the file.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, Dick. Thank you. Is there anyone else that signed up to speak?
No, they have not.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay, seeing none, then we will go back to our communications and announcements, and I'll recognize the town clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The 2019 general election will be the first time New Yorkers will have experienced the experience of early voting. Beginning October 26th through November 3rd, registered voters can go to a designated voting center to complete their ballot. The hours of these locations will vary day to day, opening early some days and staying open later others. The Penfield Town Hall will be one of the 7 county-wide centers offering early voting. The current planned hours are available on the town's website calendar at penfield.org. Voters are likely to see new equipment at the early voting centers. Electronic poll books, known as e-poll books, will be necessary to make sure voters can only vote once. Individuals will not be able to go to another center and cast a ballot. Votes casted at an early voting center will not be counted until election night. Those who vote on Tuesday, November 5th, will go to their registered polling location to cast a ballot. All information regarding this year's election is available at monroecounty.gov/elections, or you can call me at 340-8629 or email me at steckloff@penfield.org. Also, tomorrow night, we will have our final passport night in Penfield for this 2019 year. That's Thursday, October 3rd, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. here in this room. Individuals in need of a new or updated passport are welcome to attend. This event comes through a partnership with the clerk's offices of Monroe County and the town of Penfield. For general information on routine or expedited passport applications, go to monroecounty.gov, or again, call me at 340-8629 or email me at steckloff@penfield.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Metzler.
I have 2 announcements this evening. The first is the town will be holding its annual Recycling Day event this Saturday, October 5th, at the Department of Public Works facility from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Penfield residents can bring metals, household appliances, brush, clothing, and linens or documents for secure destruction to 1607 Jackson Road. Please note that at this event, no electronics, leaves, or grass will be accepted. Information on Recycling Day and other town services is available at penfield.org. Also, next week, October 6th through the 12th, is National Fire Prevention Week. This year's campaign is Not Every Hero Wears a Cape. Plan and practice your escape. Works to educate everyone about the small but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe. When it comes to fire safety, anyone can be a hero. It is easy to take the first steps. Just make an escape plan for your home. Mere seconds can mean the difference between a safe escape and a tragedy, and firefighters continuously provide public education to children, adults, and teachers to stay safe. Fire Prevention Week is observed each year during the commemoration of the Great Chicago Fire, which began on October 8, 1871. It is the longest-running public health observance week in the United States. Additionally, fire safety information is available at nfpa.org or firepreventionweek.org. And that's all I have for this evening.
Great, thank you. One announcement, the Penfield town offices will be closed on Monday, October 14th, in observance of Columbus Day. That includes the town hall, DPW, recreation, and the courts. The Penfield Public Library will be open during their normal business hours to accept any and all of our residents to join in some great programs. Councilwoman Cole.
I have 3 announcements. Penfield Rotary, Penfield Recreation, our community bikes are again partnering with the town to have the community bike drop-off at the community center. That's Saturday, October 5th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And if you want to donate your used bikes to the Penfield Rotary, Receipts will be provided for the donations. Our community bikes will repair and deliver the bikes to those in Rochester community who depend on them for transportation to get them to work, school, and training sessions, as well as for recreational use. Information on this event is available at penfieldrotary.org. My next announcement is that my next community chat, I have a community chat every month, and it will be Tuesday, October 15th from 5:30 to 7 in the new book area at the Penfield Library. And my third announcement is that the town's annual family Halloween night will be held on Friday, October 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the community center. Join your friends and neighbors for games, trick-or-treat, hay-rides, crafts, music, and more. The town would like to thank Woody Akers and the Rothfuss family for their generous contributions to this event each year. All activities are free for the evening. Information on this and other Halloween activities are available at PenRec Fall Brochure and at penfieldrec.org.
Okay, thank you. This brings us to additions, deletions to the agenda. Does any of the board members have any additions or deletions? Seeing none, we'll move on to minutes. We have the September 4th, 2019 minutes before us. Would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move that the minutes of September 4th be approved.
And I will second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
3 ayes.
Since the last meeting, has the town board, town attorney, or town clerk received any petitions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to resolution by function, starting with law and finance, please.
Authorization for release of a portion of a drainage easement located on Lot R1A of the Penwed Park subdivision.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the owners of the property at 3 Penwed Park have requested that the town of Penfield release the portion of a 30-foot wide drainage easement on the property, and whereas the original drainage easement was recorded in the Monroe County Clerk's office, and a portion of the existing 30-foot wide easement that encompasses R-1A is no longer needed by the town of Penfield and should be abandoned, as shown in the attached exhibit to this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield authorizes the supervisor to sign a release of easement to permit a release of a portion of an existing drainage easement as shown on a map entitled Lot R-1A Penwed Park Re-Subdivision, prepared by O'Neill Rodak Land Surveying Associates and dated July 26, 2019. Be it further resolved that the release of the easement shall be in the town's format and shall be recorded at the Monroe County Clerk's office with a certified copy of this resolution.
Thank you. Discussion. See no further discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
3 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This authorizes the town supervisor to sign one recreation contract, and it's with the Penfield Youth Wrestling Club.
All right, thank you. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
3 ayes.
All right, this brings us to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, is there any new business to come before the board this evening? Again, seeing none. Second opportunity for public participation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any matter? Okay, seeing no further comments, and there being no further business to come before the board this evening, the October 2nd, 2019 legislative session of the Penfield Town Board will stand adjourned at 8:03 p.m. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you to Penfield TV. Have a great evening.